Hello and welcome everyone to the May 2026 Cataloging Interest Group meeting. I am Jennifer Weston, facilitator of this fine group, and on behalf of all the people listed at the top of the agenda, as always, the fine folks of the organizing committee, we are so very happy to be together once again. I was saying before we set the recording, it was great to see so many of you in person, and I missed those of you that were not there. But thank you so very much for joining us today so we can talk a little bit about what we talked about at the conference and some thoughts that might have come our way since then, and really anything else that's on your mind because we don't have a formal presentation today. We did have an in-person meeting, and we had some new folks join us. It was fabulous to have new people coming to our meetings and getting to see the new faces. So we will look at the notes as well from that conversation because we sparked some really good, we wrote some really good issues. There's some bugs we wanted to talk about, and then just some general state of the industry and the state of the cataloging community beyond Evergreen, just of the cataloging world for libraries. So we'll take a quick look at that. As I'm going through, again, I am the facilitator, so if there's anything else that comes up that I'm missing, I do have links to lots of the presentations that we can talk about, but please use your mics as you need to. I know we're a large group, great. Use your mics or your chat. We will be putting the recording up on the wiki. Okay. If you are new to us, our notes everybody has access to, and you should all be able to edit, I believe. Let me double check that, make sure. No, you should all be able to view it. Now you're done. Now everybody should be able to edit and just add notes as we go along. And these will be posted up to the wiki. There are two tabs to this document. If you missed the last couple of meetings, we talked about that in here. I've kind of moved everything that's our standing agenda off to just a different tab so that I can just reuse it from time to time. And hello, those of you just joining us now. I am just now giving an introduction about about how the agenda works. Let me pop this back in the notes document in the chat again. There we go. Okay. And the agenda works because we have standing agenda items on one, and they tend to be rather long. And then I kind of now like to keep the current program just at the top so we can keep our notes separated and a little cleaner, a little less noise. So we'll run through the standing agenda items and our quick march to talking about Evergreen Conference presentations. Again, here's your organizing committee at the top, links to the wiki, which is always a work in progress. Okay, so here at the top, we have again links to the wiki, links to the releases, the most recent releases. These last ones were security releases right around conference time. And I'm going to talk about tabular release notes because this is one of the things we unveiled at the conference that I'm very excited to share. Talk about the meeting notes. We will do that. And of course, we have links to the latest releases on the wiki. Actually, not sure that's been updated. If not, it will be this afternoon. Official documentation, reminder, we have demo servers. And I don't think we have a new one since the last time we talked. And often we'll talk about the development roadmap, but if you'd like to, we can certainly do that. But I was just going to remind everybody that there is a link to the development roadmap. If you're curious about what's next, it will talk about all the things going on with 317 and what that schedule looks like. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well as we get there. But for now, we're up to, oh gosh, here's May, most recent release, but we do have some community review coming up sometime soon too. I know I'm going through this rather quickly. So if you're new and you have any questions and I'm going too quickly, please let me know. The next thing on our standing, so that was our release notes and resources. Next thing on our standing agenda items, always celebrations. We'll celebrate that we had the Evergreen Conference, hurrah! And also there is a catalogers map. If you're not familiar with that, I promise I won't go into that today because this is my fun little thing that I just like doing. If you are new to this meeting and if you do not see your library, your location, it's anonymous in that it doesn't have your name, but it does have the library locations on the map, and I won't take time to click on that today. But if you would like to be added to that, there is a link to a spreadsheet. Just add your name to the bottom and I will absolutely add you to the map. And eventually that's going to show up on the wiki as an image. And eventually, I mean, probably, into the summer when I am working on redoing the wiki, the annual let's redo the wiki pledge that needs to happen once a year. Okay. Now, this is where I pause. This is where we talk about what's going on in your world. If you are not listed here and you would like to be, feel free to either insert a row and add yourself. Feel free to please update where you are with any kind of upgrade that you have planned. If you'd rather us make the updates for you, just drop a note in chat. So here's where we talk about what's going on, who's upgraded in the last few months, or who is planning to, if anybody wants to share. Anybody coming up? Anything planned for the summer or fall? Let's see. Yeah, on here.
Maybe in the fall.
Maybe, Carol? Maybe.
Yeah, we're
Again?
not going to wait like three and a
Again?
half years or whatever it
Wow.
was.
You've recovered from the last one, huh?
No,
No. Okay.
but we don't want to go through that again.
No. Fantastic. Okay, so maybe in the fall. We will hold you to. Anybody else recently or update again, please just feel free to update. I was kind of scanning through to see. Missouri Evergreen did their big upgrade in February. Let's
Right,
see.
we upgraded in February 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
So if
probably
you're,
not looking to do it again in, October.
no,
No.
no, probably won't do it again until next.
Yeah, once a year.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Let's see. I just see if anybody else had anything on the horizon. The last time we talked, Lions does it early in the year. Okay. Oh, Jennifer here. Okay, I saw your note on there. So BC Libraries, BC Co-op's going in October. Oh gosh, are you going to be the first one on 317 in this group? We're always watching for your notes as you are very early, usually, Jennifer. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I guess
Maybe
it depends when
doing a
in
race.
October. If we're doing it in October, it would be the long weekend.
Okay, you could just both have October. We'll call you both the first to 17. And Al's upgrading at some point in the fall. Okay. So that tells me in November would be an excellent time to say, hey, how did that go? And then start talking about 317 in practice. October 3rd, I'll see. Yep, she's going to get you. So good. October 3rd and maybe CW Mars. All right. Kenton County usually upgrade in December. Okay. Yeah, I know you've got some things going on there too. Right. I think it helps us to keep track of who's on what, especially knowing that those of you that are making the jump first, so we can call on you to let us know how they went, things that you're finding as you upgrade. Okay. This is, of course, always as recent as our last meeting. Anybody have anything they want to share about whatever version they are on, specifically about your experience with upgrading? This is just a good time to share that before we just move along to the next. Turn off some of my notifications so I don't get distracted. Okay, there we are. Okay, well then we'll move on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know summer is not ideal time for upgrades. So we will look forward to updates as the year marches on. Right. Catalogers Connect. This is our list of all of our fellow interest groups and working groups. I do believe I have updated the next meeting dates correctly. There is a link to the community calendar that we all share, and I love that. It's a little over a year old now that we've maybe two. Gosh, I don't remember. Anyway, however old it is, there is a link to the community calendar that's also on the website. But if you're looking for what's going on and you just want to find out what you might be able to attend, because there's so many, recognizing that all of our time is limited, I do like to acknowledge and recognize all the work that's being done with all these great groups. So again, the links are to their individual web pages, whether it's on the wiki or directly on the website. We do have a community bug squashing week. I said I would mention that coming up in July, and more information about that is on the Bug Squashing and Feedback Fest page there. And we will have much more information about that closer to the date. Note the collaborative code review is weekly. Everything else here is at least on a monthly basis, I think. If there's anything in here incorrect and you represent any of those groups, you participate in them, feel free to update it. So it's so many now that we scroll and we scroll and we scroll. Okay. Any updates or announcements from any of the groups that you want to make while we have a nice large group here today? add them to the notes or add them to the chat. And we'll be glad to do that. I know a lot of us are just getting back, and this is for many of us, May is the first meeting after the conference. Always looking for notes for that. Okay. Launchpad bugs is just a standing agenda item, not getting anything particular, and actually I haven't updated these numbers. These numbers should represent how many active bugs we have for each of these categories. So I'll go back and do that. But if we find bugs we want to talk about, we certainly will. This is just a link to help you get quickly to those that belong to staff catalog blockers. And let's see what's there. How many we have left. The same 4 that have been there for quite some time. So there we go. So nothing new there. The nice thing is we started at 12 early last year, so we're down to 4. Now the staff catalog blocker are those that are just, there aren't workarounds as well. There's a description there outside the traditional catalog. So this is as things start to go move to Angular, and most everything is there now. You'll see that. And then regression bugs, those are the ones that, they did work and now they don't after fixes. Good enough. All right, so there's our standing agenda items. Just a quick announcement from this group. Our next meeting in June, we will have a formal discussion about Library of Things catalog. We'll have a little more structure next month than we do this month. And then in July, it is not coincidental that we will be doing bug review at the same time community's doing a lot of bug review themselves. So we're just going to jump right in and enjoy that. So we will, closer to July, highlight particular bugs, particular things we want to test and look at. So mark your calendars for June and July, and then we'll have more announcements later about later in the year. But these are the 2 we have. All right. Any announcements? Any questions? Thanks, Carol, for updating the bug numbers. Perfect. Let's say perfect. Numbers are going up and not down. Okay. Again, quick and easy way to review them. And as I always say, if you'd rather just spend our next 45 minutes just reviewing bugs, you go for it. That's just a quick way to get to those that are related to cataloging in the various different ways we split it out. Okay, going back to the top on purpose so that now we can go over to the other page, which is going to be our current program where we will take notes for today. Done all of this. Okay, so Evergreen Conference. I don't know the best way. If we were in a room, I would say raise your hand if you went to the Evergreen Conference. I can do that here. Raise your hand and I will see on the reaction. Just kidding. About how many people were actually. It was a smaller conference as far as conferences go. Yay, look, I'm seeing thumbs up and everything. But I think it was a really nice, intimate setting. It was a beautiful setting. Gosh, it was so good to be back together in person. And I look forward to future conferences in person. I will say that to the extent that we have received slides to be published, those now live on the conference website on the program descriptions page. And I've pulled out quite a few of those just to highlight. Here we are. So you'll see if there's to get to one, there we go. So you'll see slides beside the title. So this is not one that I've pulled out to highlight about strategic planning, though it was very, very interesting. So if you want to see the slides, none of the, yeah, I see Elizabeth, I see your notes. I'm guilty as well, which is, ironic, but yes, it's fine. Send yours. So anybody who should have sent me slides and has not, please use this as your nudge. I was going to say that none of the programs were recorded as far as video recording. So the slides are going to be your best resource for content at this point. So I did pull out just a few of them, and I see quite a few of you are here that provided content and gave presentations. So thank you to everyone on that long list of programs. We had 3 tracks, and they stayed very busy over the course of the one day for the pre-conference and then the follow-up days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I've pulled out a few of these, including reports to aid and collections, which is very interesting. And then Carol did a great presentation on MARC authority records. I learned some new things in that too. And we've been talking about authorities for so long. Carol found a way to make it, new and interesting. We did talk a bit about Angular Circ, and I wanted to introduce that, and then I'm going to stop talking and ask for more input here in a moment. But we had center stage, meaning that there wasn't a competing presentation against that one, just to bring everybody up to date on what's going on with Angular circulation And the word circulation implies circulation, but anytime there's something that's such a big overhaul like that, it's a good thing for catalogers to be involved, to see what's changing, and to see if it's affected anything on any of the screens we interact with on a regular basis, because it very well could have. So after that presentation, that was about what is Angular Circ. There was immediately after that one talking about work that's already been done already in the Angular circulation, kind of the status of Angular Circ development work. Lots of slides, lots of examples on there. Michelle did a great job putting that together to show you what it looks like now. And also talking about the status of testing. And I pulled out a link to the patron interface testing there if you want to be involved. And well, if you just want to review some of the testing and see the comments and all the bugs pulled together in one place, and that's certainly just a place if you just want to kind of you know, give it a quick look and see what's going on with that. But also if you want to get involved in testing. Now, what again, Angular Circ isn't something we've spent, other than introducing it, isn't something we've spent a lot of time on specifically in this group. We certainly can as testing continues. I just want to make a note that I open the spreadsheet. The first tab here about testing notes will tell you about how you can get access to this and then how you can use this spreadsheet, much like bug splashing if you've participated in that. Again, right now it's just open for viewing, but if you want to get involved, there's certainly a low threshold to do that. You just request access. But then there's the list here of all these things that need testing. Again, looks very much like bug splashing, and there's just some notes on there, as you can see, related bugs. So again, I hadn't really intended to spend a lot of time looking at these screens other than to make sure that you had access to all the information that was shared at the conference and about how important it is, because one of the things that's being considered is how quickly this might roll out. Is it going to be fall, or pieces of it going to be in the fall? So watch for that as the 317 continues forward. But I know that there's a lot of excitement about Angular. This is the last big module that needs to be done. And we went through that as catalogers. We went through Angular Cat. So we're going to be there to support the rest of the community for their Angular. Right. I'm going to pause there because I've been talking a lot. For those of you that were at the conference, is there anything about the Angular presentation or about anything that you heard about it while you were there that you would want to add to this? Or if you weren't there and you have questions. Okay. I know. Carol, I felt the same way getting ready for today, as if I can remember last night. Good thing we took notes. And then I see how great or bad my notes are. Okay. So again, my note here was to make sure I said Angular circulation is coming. And if you want to see what's going on with it, there's your way to do that. Okay. And then I'm just going to list the rest of these that were there, and then we'll see what you want to talk about. Because I do want to get to our cataloging interest group. We did have to do with our notes. They're here at the top. We're going to look at our meeting notes from our in-person meeting. Okay, Kate did a great presentation on training programs and how you make training programs that click beyond just, how to do this particular thing, but how to really design a whole program. And a lot of your organizations have those too. But I learn something every time I listen to somebody else talk about their training plans and their curriculum and the tools that they use. So this was a really great presentation. I will see, Kate, if you've sent me those slides. My goal for the rest of the week is to make sure I have everything and follow up with everybody who doesn't. So I will send a link, an update to the list when we have everything. We'll get those updates. Then Kate and I did a presentation on cataloging searching skills. And the next level, I should say that one of the tracks at the conference was very much intended to be for people that were either new to Evergreen or new and interested in a different aspect of Evergreen than they may be working in. So one of the things we talked about as an interest group together were the kinds of things that we could offer for that track. And this is what we ended up doing here. So Kate and I did some cataloging searching skills. We talked about the things that you can customize, whether they are at your local level, all of those cataloger preferences, which I'm going to continue to call, even though it says search preferences, it started out as cataloger preferences. So all the things that you can save locally, and then various different things that can be customized at the library level as well. So we talked a lot about kind of that fun stuff that you can make it your own, or think about how you can streamline some of the the screens and some of the words and some of the labels and the various different boxes that you have to choose from. So it was really more about customization of a search rather than how to use the, go to search and type in a keyword. It wasn't that. It was more about how you can customize things, make it your own. And so we've got some preliminary slides there. We did a lot more talking off script, but the slides are good as a reminder of what the plan was. And then two more notes. The next to last is if you were familiar with Andrea and Ruth's show before, Ruth is now working in a public library. So Katie Greenleaf Martin stepped into that role. So Andrea and Katie did an excellent job doing new features. And I think that covered 315 and 3. Let's take a quick look. They are hilarious slides if you haven't had the opportunity to see this presentation in person, or please do when you get the opportunity to do so. They did 316 and 317. Okay, I'm just reviewing this to confirm where we are. Okay, so yeah. So they do walk through 316, 317. They introduce a lot of the new features and then also give some descriptions and screenshots and status of all. Excellent presentation. And lots of cats and lots of Muppets. And lastly, batches, baskets. Elizabeth, I do it every time. Batches, baskets, and buckets. There you go. Now, do you want to say anything about this? Has become an annual, recurring, much in demand. We always ask Elizabeth to take this on because these keep changing. You want to say anything about those, Elizabeth? I don't want to talk about your presentation while you're here.
I don't have anything new to say. Fortunately, there are always new things as people upgrade and so on, and new people who haven't used the batches in one way or another. But yeah, it was fun.
It was. It always is. It always is. And we'll get those slides up. Okay, so let's do this because I'm going to ask you if you have any questions or anything you want to highlight, but I want to go over the descriptions page and just remind you that you can go back and forth between the schedule if you just want a quick listing of the titles of all of these things. It's faster to do that. Please feel free to reach out to any of these presenters. And if you don't know how to contact them, let me know and I'll put you in contact with them about any of these you might be interested in that we're not highlighting as specific to cataloging today. There are several here that I just want to make sure that I think the rest of you, I know Chris did at Noble did a very nice presentation on inventory. So if you missed that one, I'm going to go back to, because this, let's just go back to the other view. And it was pretty early in the thing. There you are. So here's the description for that one. And since I didn't pull it over, we can do that. But very nice note on inventory. Catalogers get pulled into that too. And this is a lovely way of doing a big inventory project and how successful he was able to design that one. Let's see. And several really good presentations on acquisitions that I didn't pull in here, but Tiffany did one on EDI error messages, and then just also a more general, again, that introductory track about why you might want to use acquisitions. So those were there as well, but I didn't pull over. Okay, so I will leave this with you, and in this time wherein we've all come right back into our jobs and gotten very busy all over again, but as a reminder that this is a really great resource for you. And if there's anything you would like to talk about as an interest group, and you say this is something we would like to explore more, we'll be talking about that as an organizing committee in the next month or so. We'll be reviewing some of this stuff and to see if we want to expand it into this monthly meeting. But if there's anything at all, any of you see that you think that would really be great for this conversation, to spend a bit more time, even the full time, please let me know, and we'll be glad to do that. Because we want to make sure we reach as many people as possible. And now I'm just scrolling. Right. Now I'm going to start talking about our notes. And then if there's anything that anybody else wants to bring up, we have plenty of time. So these were our notes from the cataloging interest group. And as I mentioned, we had quite a few new people there. So we were able to stop and talk about the importance of getting together and what we do as a group. And then, of course, we end up doing what we always do. We talk about things that need fixing. So we've got our list there, but we didn't stop there. We talked a little about what's going on in the vendor community. And I think that this is actually a really great interest group to be able to do that. What's going on, post Baker and Taylor, what's going on with Ingram, what's going on with Amazon. These aren't problems we can solve, but there are problems that we can commiserate on. We can share how each of you are adjusting. And certainly this is the kind of, I don't want to say support group, but the kind of group where you can share and how you're having to evolve any of your cataloging workflows. So we talked a bit about that. It was nice to hear really just kind of some of the decisions you're faced with all the changes that are going on in the world, where we get cataloging records from and where we get materials from. So we did talk about vendors. And then we kind of wrapped up on parts, and I felt like we could have talked another hour about parts, and perhaps we need to do that again in this group. So I'm going to look at these one by one. That was my quick introduction. But I wanted to unveil the tabular release notes. I don't know if Elizabeth Davis is here. She is the powerhouse behind these. I don't see if Elizabeth, if you're here. I'm sorry, I'm missing your name. I'm double checking. But we unveiled this, and now anytime you click on the tabular release notes, this new document has replaced the old one, or it doesn't replace it. It adds to. Oh, I lost my kitty last year. That's okay. Sorry. Let me get over here so I can actually edit it. Been all over the place. Here we are. So the new format does this, and we unveiled it at the conference. If I go back at the old format, this is what that was. Make it a little smaller. Okay. So we had all these columns that we categorized all the bugs that came out, every point release that we had. While this was lovely, and we started it many, many years ago, and again, this interest group is responsible for that. It's not just me or just a handful of other people that have been working on it, but this is one of our contributions to the community. We started it way back in 2019, and we've been maintaining it ever since, rather faithfully. The problem with that, and we would sometimes get behind, is that this was a manual labor of love. We literally had to go in and do copy paste, copy paste. So what we have done now, what Elizabeth has done, is she's taken this and she's automated it to some extent. We haven't documented that yet. We will share how it's automated. But what that's allowed us to do is get it out very quickly. So a release comes out and Elizabeth's able to update this, same day or the next day, or certainly within a week. She's essentially just pulling this out of the raw data of the release. So she's able to go in there and pull these out. And that gives us two things. One, very much more automated, which means it comes out quicker. And the other thing is it gives us the ability to filter. And we weren't able to do that before. The best we could do before was, just, control F and search for things or scroll down the catalog. We have not lost any functionality. We still have links to bugs and all of that. So we have the ability to, we can filter by version, filter across all of these tops, all of the columns there. I'll get that out in a minute. The other thing we can do is we get the full description of the bug. So we weren't constrained by trying to make it all fit into something that was more digestible in the other view. We've got the bug links. And this is one of the key things, and one of the reasons that Elizabeth was working on it, is this new configurable element. We were losing oftentimes if there was a new permission. And so now you can come into this and you can say, okay, I just want to see all the new permissions that have come out so far in 316. And I know you know how to filter, but I just want to show the power of this. Right. So here are all the permissions. 10 bugs had new permissions. And the permission is going to be listed in the description. We certainly could do that manually the old way if we just read the notes and made sure we didn't miss anything. But this provides a lot more consistency, a lot more accuracy, to be honest. So there we go. So that was our big unveiling as an interest group. You don't think filters work with view-only permissions? Oh, well then, that's terrible. I need to fix that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a copy of this and give you all editing permissions as of right now. And then we'll figure that out. So this is a backup copy, so you're not going to hurt the original one. And there you go. And I can see why, because if I'm filtering, then it's changing the view for everybody. There you go. Let me unfilter so that you can all get in there and try it out. Keep in mind this is a copy, and if somebody's in there, you're just at the clear. We're going to be fighting. Okay, let me undo what I did, and then you can all just, there you go, have your own copy. So feel free to, that might be best practice here is just to make a copy when you need to work with it. Just make your own copy, which you should be able to do. So I'll talk with Elizabeth and we'll keep a copy just for this reason that's open to everybody, but the other one will be locked down so that we retain the formatting. Just in case anybody wants to, go a little crazy. You can't have access to the original one, but you can certainly have this. Okay, so we'll do this going forward. We'll make sure that the other thing is this, we're just now using this one. I mean, it's been a month, but it's been a blur of a month. So if you have suggestions for this, about it, ways to make it easier to use, additional information you may see that doesn't require manual intervention, or that we could potentially get out of just the raw file, raw data file, please let us know. And this was updated going into the conference. The alternating line shading. Oh, that would be Marvy. You are absolutely right, Chris. I'm going to make sure I'm saving my notes, save my chat. Okay. Yes. So now I have that saved. I think you're absolutely right. We'll do that. And any other suggestions, just drop them there. Let's see. Okay. And so no, it's a lot to throw at you, and it's a big change. It's also the reason I wanted to introduce it. If you're used to this, and then you saw this, and you're thinking what happened, it was very intentional, and I hope that it actually makes it more usable for us and easier to maintain. And again, we'll get it documented on what we're doing. I'm not doing it. What Elizabeth is doing with converting this now. So it's a conversion project rather than what it was before. And of course, you can still just do your Control F, and if you're just looking at every time a monograph part was mentioned, it still works. So you just sort all the sheets, and we see every time it still works out. So there we go. And it'll just go across all of them. So that has not lost. And again, you don't need me to tell you how to search a spreadsheet, but just confirming that we didn't take away any of the previous releases. We go all the way back to when this started. And I will say it started before about the time I joined Equinox. So far back that went. Okay. Got it. Okay. Actually, it was before. So there we go. Unveiling. That was our big celebration. Balloons everywhere. Yay. Okay. So then the other things here we'll look at, and then just open it up for conversation about what we want to prioritize for continuing to discuss. I did several of the things that came up in the conversation. What happens when we get together? We talk about things that are broken. It was quite a few of these. Well, several of these were fixed already, so I made notes of those. This shelving location and other attributes, so that clear doesn't work. We talked about that in this group, and then we talked about it again in person. While there is a fix, it's been committed but not yet released. There's a little conflict that needs to be resolved, but that's well on its way to also being resolved. So the audience has been fixed. The holdings templates, being able to add tags, notes and tags, all of that did get rolled out in 3.15. So thanks to Carol for these notes, because I would not have remembered anything we talked about if Carol did not take notes that day and share them right after. So here are the various different ones. And we looked at all of these that were there. I wanted to talk a little about, at least this one, the open issue. We said the fixed fields aren't all updated with the available values. I think we have talked about this as a group before. I thought we had a list somewhere, but I can't find it in Launchpad. And Jennifer Pringle, I may be thinking that at one point you had a list of those fixed fields, or I am just misremembering and it was another list of something else. But if we had that list, or if anybody out there has already done this for their library and you would be willing to share that information, I mean, we can all go through the MARC definitions and identify this. See, Jennifer, I just think you have all the lists. I will be more than glad to, work with somebody to go through all the mark definitions and see what's missing. But I wanted to check and see if anybody has done it. If you've already done this, I would be more than glad to copy all of the work you've already done and work on getting it into this Launchpad book so that we can define what needs to be done. So that's both with cataloging and authorities. And to be clear, I'm talking about oh gosh, do I not even have Evergreen open today? I do not. Shame on me. Let me get a version open here so we can look at it. This is just a sandbox I have. It's not real data. Okay, so I am talking about it's concerto data for the most part. For the most part. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is, just to be very clear, all these fixed fields at the top. They should have these little helpful hints with the definitions there, but not all of them do. Was that still true? Description? Huh. May not be true anymore. I know that
Some
these
have incorrect suggestions, like the Festschrift one.
Oh, see, I was just seeing if there was anything in there at all.
That's one of those, either it is or it isn't.
Right.
Everything under one is
Yeah,
not
it doesn't need to be there at all. Yeah. So where that came from, who knows? Oh, well, probably form. Okay. So maybe that's not as big a deal. Okay. Yes, it looks like almost there. Authorities is not almost there. Authority needs a bit more work than this. Okay. There you go. And I will be glad. Some of the other types may be missing them as well. True. Very good point. I'm just looking at print. Some language, some context. I think what I would like to do is just start a list and then circulate it on the cataloging on our email list rather than having the conversation in Launchpad, even though that's not a bad place to do it. But I think if we get together a really good list and then to put in that bug, so it's a one-time list, and then, okay, let's do that. So Jessica, you're missing some languages. All right, so I'll go through the basic formats and I'll get that note done. It'll be next week. To at least I'd like to move this forward. This has been on our list for some time. And when it came up again this year, I'm going, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward fix. And I've read through the whole bug. If you read through that, there's been some back and forth. And Mike gave some really good direction on why some of these things may not do what we want them to do. But I mean, we certainly don't want those those little illustrations. Just we don't want those there. I mean, that's not by default, but maybe we do. I don't know. Anyway, we worked so long on getting these combo boxes so that we could actually use them. I want to make sure that we're not losing the content there too. I know that some of these we still can't change and save, right? Let's see. Oh, that one's saved. Cool. All right. I don't want to conflate multiple bugs though. Right now, I just want to get the content correct. Aha. See, you do have a list, Jennifer Pringle. Yes. So this comes right out of this is Sitka documentation. So thanks for sharing that. There's a version of this available in a little different format. I think in the Evergreen official one. Chris, you're asking me what version I'm on. It's a good question. I just grabbed the first training database I was working with earlier. 314.12. Yeah, that's what I'm using for this. Yes, Jennifer, it could be useful for setting up a spreadsheet or something to check each field. Absolutely, that'll be, and I'm going to leave that open right there so I can do just that. It's this low-hanging fruit that I like to, really a little quality of life that would be very helpful. One of the reasons I'm doing that is we're starting to see, yeah, input unknown for some of those fields on. So you also see input unknown for some of those fields on 314.4. Right, what version did I just tell you I was looking at? My memory. 1412. Okay. And we'll look over a variety of them. 315.12. So is yours different, Chrissy? Yeah, input value unknown. Okay. Mine's just a copy of, there shouldn't be anything particularly custom about mine. I don't think I've been in there fixing anything, but maybe fairly possible that I started something as a test. I'll go back to the stock one, and it's 315, just community server, and start there. Okay, several are unknown. Alrighty, that's good to know. I'll find something. So see, the other conversation I had that outside after that one that did make notes, I'll put it back, is we're getting a lot more, I don't know if we call them RDA fields, but we're getting more fields that are coming over from Library of Congress as they start to catalog in the BibFrame model with the linked data. We're seeing a ton of that. So that's a conversation I'll bring back to this group at some point about what we're doing with those extra fields that are showing up. This isn't a good example, obviously, but we'll find a good example. I'd really like to get our fixed fields fixed, and then we'll move on to these extra things that we think might need indexing. They're coming like audience, for example. I don't want to get out in front of that. I want to get the basics in place. Okay, so fixed fields, thank you for the input there. We'll take this forward. And my intention today was conversations we want to take forward as this group. The other thing that's in our notes here is we had talked a month or two ago about stock bib templates. And because some libraries have these already, and we thought it'd be nice to really get a good solid set of them so that they could become stock evergreen rather than just those that are there. So I'm calling on libraries that already have a nice little set of templates, for the various different formats that you're using them for. So I'm going to come back to that as well. So we talked about that just a little bit in our meeting there. So I'll revisit that and then provide some examples. All right. Fines. Taryn fixed these for us. See, I knew somebody had fixed them. Thank you. Thought we had that conversation. That there was a library out there that had spent some time on them. Marvelous. Marvelous, marvelous. Okay. Sherry. This is 31410 DVD fixed fields with input unknown. Okay. And that's where we need to look at the other formats. I was just looking at them. Let me see if I can find a DVD. All right. So much great content that we're going to pull together. I don't need to request it. I'm going to have the link there. Sorry, I'm talking to myself to make sure I've got everything saved all the way I need it. All right, so let's find a DVD then instead of moving on. Let's see if it's really a DVD is what I need. Then this one that I pretended was a DVD. There we go. Anytime now. Here we are. Input value unknown. Is this what you're seeing right at the top? Or when it's blank, it should just be blank. Unknown or unspecified makes more sense than input value unknown. Okay. So
For
you're
the
seeing it.
ones on our 316 server where I see unknown, it's the only option in the dropdown.
Okay.
Like there's there's nothing else. And yeah, I definitely on our 316.6 test server, we're not seeing fixed fields for some of the things you're seeing on your training server.
Okay.
And yeah, the screenshot is exactly what we see that just got put in the chat.
Okay. Perfect. I was going to log into 316 and see if my training server was right here. I have no idea what content is in here, but let's see what. should be basically the same. Let's look for the life of birds here. And then I'm looking at Sherry's screenshot at the same time. Okay, input value A unknown. I see. So let's look at description, E-level. Okay, so I just need to see why mine works and yours E-level, which is the opposite of what I tend to find. Okay, there's one. So there's the input value V unknown. Got it. Control and got it. Uh-huh. I Yeah, that's surprising to me. Again, I know we started this conversation many, many, many months ago, and I didn't fix individual training systems. So yeah, maybe we were testing something out. I'll go back in 5 minutes. But yes, we all need them. That's where I'm trying to go, is we all need them to work. And so I will take everything you shared with me today and put it into based on what I am seeing in stock Evergreen from the community demo server. That's what I'm going to use as a baseline because nobody has any, it's just stock. So I will do that rather than my training server. Okay. So before we get together next June, I will have done that. I'm not promising it any time. Well, definitely not this. But okay. So we'll do that. Again, little things that we can do. And then the big things we can tackle later. All right. Pip templates we talked about. All right. Fixed fields. We still have this skipping the field, which is, again, one of those, just it's a matter of how you click and how many times you want to click and how often you want to have to massage a box to make it do what you want to do. So that one is still very much bugging the community that as we talked about them together. So in this, we were talking specifically about the item price on this one. So, yeah, so this one's item price. I bring these over in case you want to test on your own and add any notes about what you're seeing. Thanks for confirming that. It looks like this one might be ready to test again. If so, then we'll see if we can't get it put on a branch so we can test it. Cool, cool. That would be nice. So let's see. Check in with Llewellyn and NC Cardinal and make sure it's ready to be tested. That would be nice to get that one also moving forward. So let's leave a note on that one. They did say it was Llewellyn, right? Yeah. Not to be confused. Last name Llewellyn. Okay. So I think those were the big bugs that were there. Vendors, again, we can talk if you want. And then parts. All right, Carol checked fixed fields in 317 beta. All right, so nothing has changed in 317. It's good to know, because I wouldn't have spent a lot of time on 315 and 16 if 317 was fixed. Thank you for that. To save some time. And I guess last thing on here, the group, and I hope this has been beneficial going through all the things we talked about at the conference, but making sure I promised I would bring it back to this group. So the last thing we talked about was parts, and we just barely got started and we ran out of time. One of the things that we were trying to recreate during the conversation was that requirement that if one holding has a part added, others can't be saved without them, right? I mean, that's the setting that we have, but that it's messing with holds. And we didn't have a lot of great notes on here because, again, the conversation just had to stop rather, because the next presentation was going on. But I think in general, we said if it isn't holdable, we don't really care about parts, but needing to test out the various scenarios of what happens if you're just, if some of the items, holdings, copies have parts and others don't, what happens with placing your holds is, again, so messes with holds is about as accurate as we can get right there. If you have holdable parts and a non-holdable item, this is the very specific setting scenario, you can't request any items. So it's the existence of a single non-holdable item. And I don't have the bug for that one to find. I found all the bugs, so it's in there somewhere, the cat part. But I was just looking at that here. But that's this one that we wanted to come back to and raise awareness in the community to say clearly that wasn't an intended behavior. Anybody there that remembers this conversation any better than I do? Or that might have brought this to the attention about the non-holdable item? I haven't retested it since I've been back. I will now. We'll have to set that up. And we didn't talk about a particular version, but I'll just check on the newest one. And I don't think it was readily available just from reading through these. No, that's a real old one. One thing I will say is we have a few new ones. So if anybody has time capacity to go in and look at the new ones and mark them, well, see if you can confirm the same behavior to mark them confirmed, that'll be one step in the right direction. Again, quite a few new ones there, or at least new in that they haven't been confirmed. And I think, Elizabeth, a few of these may have come from others. Okay, you've always had title level holds become inactive when an item with part is added. Yes, that makes sense. And I wonder if that's what is then cascading down to if you have a non-holdable item, is it allowing any hold at all, including a title level hold, I guess is the question. But Mary, you're absolutely right. I mean, you shouldn't be placing title level hold if it requires a part. Requiring a part now gets us to everyone's items being holdable. Yep. So what happens if you've got something on there that's not, and it's the same title, and you just have a copy that's not holdable for whatever reason? I think it's a good conversation to have. I am resisting the urge to start opening some of these other books. But I think parts is something we can definitely revisit if we feel like this is needs our attention. Because sometimes it's a matter of just discussing those who, how libraries are using them before we start making decisions about what we want and just testing things there. So again, I think the very specific scenario here is that holdable parts and a non-holdable item. And again, if your library doesn't have that scenario, then you probably haven't encountered it. But there's at least one library out there, and sorry, I don't remember a lot more than that, but it just needs testing there. And clearly, if it's not holdable, you don't care about parts. Yeah, of course. We're coming up on the top of the hour. So many of you are here today. So I'm going to pause. Mary, we have school and special libraries who are not part of the whole pool, so we didn't set them to require parts because you can do that library by library as a library setting, if I'm interpreting that correctly, what you're saying, Mary. And when you say didn't set them to require parts, okay. Yeah. Gotcha. At the very least, some additional documentation would be helpful around if you do this, then this happens, or these are the considerations for exactly that kind of thing. The require parts can be done. And while we know that's true, sometimes it just helps to call that out when libraries are using them. All right, parts is indeed another animal. Now, I'm sure it was tedious, but it's best set up. Okay. And Mary, I may call on you as I start researching this a little more to just kind of talk about what your best practices were. And then it's good to have a library to partner with when I'm doing that instead of me in my theoretical world that I live in now. Okay, great. Thank you. All righty. Well, we're almost at the top of the hour. anything at all that you want us to take forward for future conversations, anything about the conference that you want to highlight or you have questions about, drop me a note, throw it on the Evergreen cataloging list or directly to me is fine. I'll hang out here for just another, 5 minutes or so, but I know that many of us go from one meeting right to the next, including the new devs, I think, meet right after us. So if you need to run to that, please do. So thank you so much. I'm sensing I always come back from the Evergreen conference with renewed, if not energy, then renewed interest and spirit to want to stay connected with this group. And I certainly hope that others of you felt that way too, so that we can keep focused on moving forward with some momentum and making some changes going for the last half of the year. My last note, and I will put this in the other notes as people are dropping off here, is as the community starts talking about planning Hackaway this year, we talked about the possibility of having catalogers join so that we can do testing together in person to just take advantage of somebody hosting that to see if there was interest in traveling to do that sort of thing. So I'll follow that up next month. I just wanted to plant the seed this month. As that starts happening, I'll bring that back to the group as well. Oh, okay, brand new bug. Here you go. We'll throw it in our notes. Jennifer Pringle says, brand new bug for anyone testing 316 and 317. She hasn't been able to replicate so far. There's our challenge. See if we can replicate this one. And I will add that one specifically to the notes, not just in chat. Thank you. We'll be more than glad to do that. Very happy to do so. And I will see if we can't get the community demo server upgraded to at least 316. Well, to 316. So we'll all have a sandbox. Maybe myself now. 316. Okay. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Good to see you all. Again, I'm around. If you have thoughts you want to share, ponderings to share with the group, please do so. And otherwise, we'll see you next month for Library of Things cataloging, and then we'll follow up on a few of these too. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of May. And I'm going to stop recording. I'll hang out for a few minutes if anybody wants to chat. Thanks again.